Welcome to Baseball Blueprint, your home for all things player development.
All right, guys, so after posting the last video, we got some really good feedback. Some of the things that we implemented from that feedback are we changed the camera angle to behind the defender, which we've done in the past, but we found a different way to better evaluate the gates. In the past, I had a really tough time getting a great angle of when the crossing happens. So you'll see how we did that later on. I'll explain that in the video. We also added in some variability based on the type of balls that were being fired. So we added in driveline smash factor balls as well as baseballs. That way we got different speeds of flights, a little bit more varied hops while we still had a little bit more weight to it. So it wasn't super like foamy, but it was enough to where we really had to focus on pocketing the ball. And then the last thing we did was we started to put an emphasis on the angle of attack. So what kind of ball flights called for more drastic angles to where we're working more laterally or even laterally and then back. So we sped up the machine and we added a little bit more height to a lot of the balls. That did give us some really good clarity as it pertains to the timing, and we got a much better idea of what that looks like in realistic timing. So we'll get right into this, and you guys can take a look and see what we got going on. So a couple things as we slow this down. First of all, his overall range marker scores were far better this time as opposed to last time. Part of that is because his prep step timing was so much more consistent, and also he has a better idea of how to manipulate his range. Now, there's still times where he's getting too much forward momentum. Even here, he's kind of crossing over his left foot. If we're working true lateral with the line, he's not going to have that forward momentum. It's going to be up and down. He doesn't have to cross over that foot as much. Here's one that's really good. We've got him in a 2.34, which is really quick landing for Riley. He's usually around a 2.7, but that was really well organized, and he got out quick there. All right, y'all, I'll show you how we got the math dictated for our gates and the setup. So we've got 6 feet from center mass across each side, so there we've got 12. Okay, now I measured from the line all the way back to where the camera was, and from there we had 18 feet. Now, 18 was pretty arbitrary. It's just how much space we had in the facility. There's like the edge of the bubble was like right here, so couldn't really do much with that. But from here, now it's just simple law of triangles. Trying to figure out the length of this side, because we're going to use 6 here. We know this is a 90-degree angle. Right? And so going through that, we can now find out this is like 18.9 something, yada, yada, yada. And now that we have that information, we actually have side angle side. So we'll be able to find the other angles too. But it puts us at like 18 degrees, I believe, here. Which this is the important angle here, okay? Knowing this is 18 degrees from the starting point allows us, when we draw our gates, to angle our gates instead of having them straight up. Because of that camera difference, it's actually needing to be angled in at roughly the same angle that the separation is here. And so by using that 18-degree angle on both sides, gives us an idea of, even though the perspective is difficult to see, wherever the center mass is, as it crosses that line, that should give us our semi-accurate landing spot. Now, the only caveat here, you math guys who know way more than me, please help me with this, because my camera isn't grounded, right? So we've got this stacked up on a box, and so I've got a feeling that changes things a little bit too. But for today's purposes, using the 18 degrees seems to play pretty good. If you guys have a better way to do this, again, let me know, and I'll try my best to make that work. All right, so one of the other questions that was posed that I really liked was, what was the difference between the timing on the machine versus the timing off of fungo, or maybe even soft toss fungo? And so we've done this before. Truth be told, I think it's a little bit easier to be consistent with your timing off the fungo. The data that we have from this session definitely supports that conclusion. Now, we can always test more, and we will. So I think from the soft toss fungo, I like that a little bit more. It's a little bit more varied. As the hitter, I have a little less control over the ball. I think the flights are a little bit more true, less backspinny, more rollover type feels like what he'll see in game. So this was a really, really good setup. I appreciate the guys who threw this out here, because there's more than one person who mentioned that this could be an option too, and they're interested to see the timing differences. So here's what we got. Here's our here's about half of the balls that we had from our session. Now we also used visual angle testing that I've done in the past. At the end of the video, there will be a little clip of how we get those angles. But yeah, let's dive into this. As we click this play, I'm waiting for the camera swing to happen, and that gives me a good idea of where Lindor's starting, probably like right there. And again, you can see where some of the error could be here. And so I'm gonna make a dot there on my paper. Now I'm gonna make intermediate dots too. These intermediate dots are going to help me get a little bit better frame of reference. That way when I measure it, I've got a better idea of the angle. Now, as I make my dots, I'm gonna take the straight edge and I'm gonna make a line. So one dot's at home plate. I'm gonna make one line from the first dot and one line from the second dot. And now I'll take my straight edge and I'll put my protractor. Well, I actually don't have a protractor today. It's one of these little angle things. It works just as well. And I'm gonna take that and put it right in the center of the dot. I'm gonna put 90 degrees, which is dead middle. That's gonna be my 0 line, right on the first line there. And then I'm gonna measure, I'm gonna count the number of degrees away the next line is. This one seems to be about 7. So we got 7 degrees, which is just beyond our medium range to the right. So that's gonna be an extreme right angle, as we can see. Now, again, there's some room for error here, but what we can do now is, as that goes into our sheet, we start to get these really cool groupings and a better idea of where we're getting trends, what balls are more consistently balls that we have to range for at what angles. And so we can use this in training too, where we start seeing, like, hypothetically, we see more balls hit harder from a positive 5-degree launch angle to a negative 5-degree launch angle. Well, if that's the case, maybe we train those ball flights at those velocities. That way we get used to it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, if you're interested in joining our infield and base stealing communities, check that out on X. Again, if you guys have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out.